Thank you so much to those of you who are still with us today. I apologize for the inconvenience. Looks like we had some scaling issues with our screen, so we had to resolve those quickly. We'll move forward now with our presentation. We were walking through the updates and talking about record level security. I informed you that phase one of this project is done and complete. We need all LEAs to refresh, resubmit, or resync their data in order to have that data tagged by the AZ system, which will, after phase two is implemented, create ownership and lock down your data. It is imperative that you complete the resync or refresh of your data to get your records tagged, as this will protect them from being modified by another LEA. Rule 10131, affecting tuition pair codes for preschool students, has been temporarily rolled back. We are continuing to work on that rule and will make an announcement before it is put back into production. Rule 20119, which affects WK-EK students, has been disabled as it was contradicting Rule 20038, which is working properly. Accountability will be publishing information regarding the deactivation later this month. You should look to the accountability website for more information regarding that change. We currently have several positions open for account analysts, and the application window has been extended until next Monday. If you are interested in being part of a fantastic team that works together to make sure every school and district receives the funding they work so hard for, please visit the website shown here or contact the SF Analyst team for more information. While we are working to open and process all 915 requests, the data push portion of this process has been on hold for several weeks due to the SAFR report. We expect the hold to be lifted sometime next week, and we apologize for any inconvenience this has caused. Our next webinar will cover the Intake 15 and Intake 35 reports, and it will include information on how those reports are used for data reconciliation. Please be sure to mark your calendars and participate on Friday, February 7th at 9 a.m. Okay, those are all of the school finance updates. At this time, we'll move forward with the webinar agenda. If you have questions regarding any of these updates that I provided here, please email us at sfanalystteam@az.gov or continue watching the webinar, and you can ask those questions when we open up the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. In every presentation, we provide school finance contact and website information. Today, we will again provide a brief review of the systems used to generate these data verification reports, as well as the data collection elements. We'll walk through the AZ's process and how the data verification reports are produced. We'll end with troubleshooting tips and a question and answer session. Please keep in mind that this is an introduction to student data verification reports, and we will be introducing the reports and discussing how you might use them to validate your student data. This is our resources and contacts page. It contains the contact information for each division of school finance. School finance is broken up into 3 divisions, which each manage separate areas of the finance process. Each group works out of a shared email inbox so we can more quickly respond to the emails we receive. The account analyst team handles student data, the school district employee report, instructional calendars, transportation reporting, and 915s. For questions related to these topics, please email sfanalystteam@az.gov. The payments team handles APOR and CHAR reports, the classroom site fund, and the instructional improvement fund. All questions related to the allocation of state aid should be directed to the payments team at the email address in the purple box. The budgets team handles expenditure budgets, annual financial reports, all other budget-related reports, and any questions related to budgets. For questions related to these topics, please contact the budgets team at the email address in the blue box. We've also provided the web address for ADE Connect, which houses the AZ's portal where you'll access student data reports. You may reach us by phone at the phone number provided in the red box, and general school finance questions can be emailed to schoolfinance@az.gov. right, there you go. Now you can see everything that's located on that page. Sorry about that. We'll leave that up for just a second so that you guys can grab that information. You can, of course, always contact the SF Analyst team at az.gov to get contact information for any of the other departments. And we'll be re-recording this webinar next week in order to include any questions that you might have at the end of this presentation that'll help to create a little more, help to make the webinar a little bit more robust. And this contact information will also be available there. The school finance website located at the top of this screen contains different pages related to student data. In the Knowledge Center, you'll find links to training videos, announcements regarding targeted webinars and in-person trainings, as well as instruction guides that will help with the student data process. The Memos tab contains school finance memos published each fiscal year. And on our homepage, you'll find Hot Topics, which are announcements published by the different divisions in school finance. You can also reach the analyst team by email at sfanalystteam@az.gov. We do ask that when you send us an email, you provide state student IDs for questions related to specific students, or screenshots if you are contacting us regarding an error you need assistance with. Again, the homepage for the school finance website is at the top of the screen here, and you'll see the Knowledge Center and Memos tabs on the light blue bar near the top of the screen, which were mentioned on the prior slide. The school finance homepage also houses the 10 most recent hot topics. These announcements are posted by the different divisions within school finance, and you can subscribe to receive alerts when a hot topic is posted. To do so, please visit our website and click on any hot topic in the list on the left. When you do that, the screen in the background will appear, and you'll need to click on the red icon holding the Subscribe for Updates sign. The subscribe screen will appear, and you'll select the categories you'd like to receive alerts regarding, as well as the frequency with which you'd like to receive those alerts. Then you'll enter your email address, click subscribe, and follow the rest of the prompts. We do suggest you sign up for all of the categories to make sure you don't miss a hot topic that may apply to you. In part 1 of this series titled Introduction to Student Data Collection, we reviewed the systems and data collection elements in greater detail than what we will do in this presentation. If you haven't already, please be sure to review that video. So just briefly, there are two systems used to report student data. Your Student Information System, or SIS, or SIS, is where your registrar or other data entry staff will enter student-related data. Your Student Information System is the system that sends information to AZEDS. AZEDS, or Arizona Education Data Standards, is the system Arizona uses to collect, compile, maintain, and report student-level data. It is important to note that statutorily, ADE cannot manipulate your data. The data you see reflected in AZEDS reports for your district or school is a reflection of the data you've uploaded from your SIS to AZEDS. What data is collected? Student membership and program data, instructional calendars, and teacher course data are all submitted by your SIS and housed in the AZEDS system. Staff data and transportation data are sent by school districts only and are collected in the legacy system called Common Logon. Eventually, those applications will also move over to AZEDS, and all of this data will be collected there. Please note that other data elements are collected in your student information system, like immunizations and discipline. However, they are not sent to AZEDS as part of this data collection process. Now we'll do a high-level walkthrough of the AZEDS process that generates the data verification reports that we're going to be discussing today. The blue person icon on this screen represents the person at your school or district who is responsible for entering data into your SIS, which is represented here by the computer icon. Your student information system should have a feature you'll use to define the frequency with which you want your data to be submitted to AZEDS. While each SIS may offer different options as to how often your data can be submitted, it is important to note that it must be submitted a minimum of every 20 days and that you must maintain your own documentation showing your data is uploaded a minimum of every 20 days for auditing purposes. When your data is submitted to AZEDS, it flows through the API, or Application Programming Interface. The API is typically open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, However, there are occasions throughout the year when it is taken down for maintenance. When your data flows through the API, a transaction is created and the data flows into the verification phase of this process. The data that appears in the verification phase is data that has landed in AZEDs. Nightly, at 5 p.m., integrity runs and results in data landing in the post-integrity phase. This phase will contain data that has met the requirements in the integrity rules. Immediately after integrity has finished running, the ACE, or ADM calculation engine process, will run. The data that lands in the post-ACE phase represents data that determines your state aid payment. The integrity and ACE processes are sets of rules determined by statute and internal technical requirements that are applied to your data. It's important to know the source of your reports. A report is generated every time your student data interacts with the process in AZEDs. When the data flows into the API, transaction reports are generated called the Trans 10 and Trans 15. These reports are explored in detail in the first video of this series. There are many reports that are generated when student data lands in AZEDs. In the second video in this series, we reviewed the STUD 10, STUD 15, STUD 72, SPED 10, and ELL 10. In this webinar, we will review the DRP 10, ABSAT 10, MEM 10, CAL 10, and CAL 15 reports. Again, integrity will run nightly, and the results of that process interacting with your data will result in the INTEG 15 and INTEG 35 reports generating. The INTEG 15 will show student integrity results, and the INTEG 35 will show calendar integrity results. These reports can be pulled to show what data has passed or failed integrity. After the nightly ACE run, the ADM 15 and ADM 20 reports are generated. The ADM 15 shows student details, and the ADM 20 shows summary counts. These reports should be used to help you reconcile your data and ensure that they contain all of the students that your SIS shows you should receive state aid for. Contact your vendor if you aren't sure which reports you can generate in your SIS to compare your data to the ADM 15. Now we'll discuss how to access the reports and review this month's data verification reports in greater detail. On the top right-hand side of the ADE website, there is a link for ADE Connect. You must have access to ADE Connect to run these reports. When you click on that link and log in, you'll have access to all of the applications that you've been given permission to interact with. If you do not have an ADE Connect account, contact your entity administrator. Additional details on finding your entity administrator can be found in the first video in this series. Once you've logged in to ADE Connect, you'll click on the link to the AZEDS portal, which is highlighted here in yellow. When you reach the AZEDS portal, it is important to stop and look over the system status page. This page contains important information related to the status of your student data reports. The table in the center of the page contains the start and end dates and times of when integrity and ACE last ran. As I said earlier, there are some occasions when integrity and/or ACE do not run. If you notice that integrity did not run the night before, it is highly likely that the data in your verification reports will not reconcile to the data in your SIS. Please be sure that you always review the status column as well. If the status of any process does not read completed, then that may also cause the data in AZEDS not to match the data in your SIS. You can see the REST API status on this screen is available. When the IT team closes the API for maintenance, this status will show as unavailable. From this page, you can access the report screen from the menu bar at the top of the screen, which is where you'll view your student data verification reports. When the reports page appears, you'll see the green menu bars on the left-hand side. You can click on each green bar to expand it and view the reports within that section. There are different permissions in ADE Connect to access different reports. If you do not see the reports you need to reconcile your data, please contact your entity administrator. Again, in the first two videos of this series, we reviewed the Trans 10, Trans 15, STUD 10, STUD 15, STUD 72, SPED 10, and ELL 10 reports. In this webinar, we'll review the DRP 10, ABSAT 10, and MEM 10, which are all in the student details section of this page. We will also review the Cal 10 and Cal 15, which are in the calendar section of this page. Again, there are many reports that are part of the student data collection and reconciliation process. However, we're going to focus solely on the DRP 10, ABSAT 10, MEM 10, Cal 10, and Cal 15 data verification reports today. First, let's review the DRP 10 report. DRP stands for Dropout Recovery Program, which is a program dedicated to helping students who have left the education system by giving them the ability to achieve their high school diploma in an alternative setting. If you have been approved to operate a dropout recovery program, you'll be able to see the DRP data you've submitted to AZEDS for your students on the DRP 10 report. DRP programs are required to submit data regarding the students' learning plan dates and their monthly progress, which can only be viewed on the DRP 10 report. This report will provide important information to help DRP programs to reconcile their data and clear integrity errors. Additional information regarding DRP programs can be found on the website at the bottom of this slide. The ADE AZEDS team has created a QRG or Quick Reference Guide to accompany each report that is available in the AZEDS portal. You can reach each report's respective QRG by clicking on the I next to the report title in the AZEDS portal, or you can locate these guides by visiting the website at the top of this screen. Each QRG provides you with the report description as well as a breakdown of the report parameters. The QRG for the DRP 10 defines each field in the report and can help you to understand any integrity errors you see related to your DRP students. It also provides you with a description of the outputs of the report, which is very helpful for new users, as there are output fields in this report that you won't see on any other AZEDS reports. Next is the ABSAT 10. The ABSAT 10 is a critical report for clearing integrity errors related to student absences or attendance data. If you participated in or watched our last webinar, you may recall that the STUD 72 report displays student attendance. However, it only includes the attendance that occurs within the student's enrollment dates. The ABSAT 10 report displays all absence or attendance data regardless of a student's membership entry or exit date. This is a pre-integrity report, so it displays the data as you've submitted it to AZEDS. This means that even if the data does not meet the integrity requirements, it will still be displayed here. Your SIS may allow you to record and upload student attendance on a date that a student was not enrolled. This attendance will not pass integrity, and you can use the ABSAT 10 report to identify where that attendance lies so you can resolve it in your SIS and submit the correction to AZEDS. You can pull this report for one school or all, select the number of days you'd like to see data for, and select the start date for the time frame displayed. The ABSAT 10 QRG, again found at the website located at the top of this slide, provides instructions regarding how to pull the report, a detailed description of the report parameters, as well as details regarding the outputs. This QRG displays an example of the report as well as how to export the report and locate the resource ID, which is created when data moves through the API into AZEDS. And this resource ID can be used to submit corrections to your attendance or absence data. The MEM 10 is a report that was created this year in response to a need for LEAs to be able to view all of the memberships submitted for their students. This report shows shared student enrollments, or limited memberships, for all memberships submitted by an LEA. This report allows you to see any memberships submitted by other LEAs for your submitted students by fiscal year. This includes enrollments that overlap or are concurrent, and those that are not. This will give you a list of other LEAs that you are sharing funding for students with. This report can be pulled for one school or all schools and can display concurrent memberships or all memberships. The option to include or exclude summer withdrawals, which are students that pre-enrolled with your school but never attended, only pertains to your students. Deselecting this option will still allow summer withdrawals reported by other LEAs for your submitted students to display on your report. The MEM 10 is very helpful when reconciling ADM and understanding limiting, which we'll review in depth later in this series of webinars. It's important to know that the AZEDS team is working to make improvements to this report, and those improvements should help to allow you to reconcile your data even better. The AZEDS team recently created a QRG for the MEM 10 report, and it should be available on the website at the top of the screen later today. This QRG provides many details regarding the report parameters. It also includes an example of the report along with descriptors of the report outputs. You can use this QRG to help familiarize yourself with this new report and better understand how you can use the report to reconcile your shared membership days and concurrencies. The Cal 10 is again a pre-integrity report, and it shows all of the calendar data that has been submitted for all schools within the district or by particular school types. This report allows you to see a summary of the event descriptors, for example, breaks or holidays, the first and last days of instruction, the total number of instructional days and days not in session with corresponding event descriptors, as well as the AZEDS calculated 40th and 100th day for each submitted calendar. This report also includes the calendar code and calendar type for each submitted calendar. The calendar code is a sequence submitted to AZEDS that will include your LEA ID, school entity ID, calendar type, and the sequence number you choose to associate with each individual calendar. This code is a district number for each calendar and cannot be, this code is a distinct number for each calendar and cannot be replicated. The calendar type is a submitted field and determines the number of instructional days per week and the grade level of the students reported on each individual calendar. The declared begin date, declared end date, and declared instructional days fields are submitted fields and not determined by AZEDS based on the actual instructional days in each calendar. The corresponding fields in the calendar summary box will show you what AZEDS sees as your first and last days of instruction, as well as the number of instructional days. This is a very useful tool to use when you're first uploading your calendars to view a summary of what has been submitted. The Cal 10 QRG is another document that we've been working on with IT to provide to you. It is a new document that will be posted on the website at the top of this slide and available by clicking on the I next to the report name in the AZEDS portal later today. This document again provides the details regarding the report parameters and outputs along with a sample of the report. The Cal 10 report is a newer report, and this QRG will help you to use this report to better understand the calendar data that has landed in AZEDS. The Cal 15 report is very useful for resolving calendar integrity errors. This report provides you with many details of each submitted calendar that are also shown in the Cal 10, for example, the declared begin and end dates, the declared number of instructional days, as well as the calendar code and type. What makes this report valuable is that it provides the calendar resource ID created by AZEDS when the calendar was submitted and the resource ID of each event descriptor. If for some reason you have to delete a submitted calendar, you would use these resource IDs to do so. The calendar event resource ID can be used to target individual event descriptors or specific dates, and the calendar resource ID is for the calendar itself. This report is also very helpful in resolving integrity errors regarding required holidays and breaks. There are several integrity rules impacted by calendar event descriptors, and this report will show you each event descriptor as it has been submitted to AZEDS. You can export this report into a CSV to easily narrow down any issues related to multiple event descriptors submitted for a particular day, holidays submitted on an incorrect date, or issues with break event descriptors. The Cal 15 QRG is another newly created QRG and will be posted later today. We worked with the AZEDS team to create this QRG, which provides details regarding the report parameters, the report outputs, and an example with a detailed description of each of the report fields. This is another useful tool when submitting or validating your calendars and should be reviewed whenever you are utilizing the Cal 15 report. Now we'll go over some brief troubleshooting tips. When troubleshooting these reports, it's important to note that they are pre-integrity reports and are therefore a reflection of the data you've submitted to AZEDS. Your vendor can help you to locate tools or resources within your student information system that you can use to compare to the data in these reports. If you are seeing data in these reports that does not match the data in your SIS, we recommend you contact your vendor to ensure your uploads are working properly. They will provide you with next steps if it is not an issue within your SIS. We of course also suggest that you review the report QRGs to ensure you understand the outputs of the report. If you need to make a change to a calendar, you'll need to submit a calendar access request form, which can be found at the website displayed under Calendar Change here. If you need additional information on how to resolve calendar integrity issues, please review the AZ's Calendar Integrity Troubleshooting Guide found at the website listed here. You can always also email the SF Analyst team with questions on how to troubleshoot issues on these reports. We do ask that when you submit an email, you include a screenshot for issues with specific reports or student IDs for issues with particular students. This is the portion of the webinar where I'll attempt to answer your questions. Give us just one moment while we open up the Q&A session. Again, you are free to ask questions related to any school finance issue, not just those contained here in this webinar. Okay, so at the top of the Q&A screen here, you'll see a URL that you'll need to go to in order to be able to submit questions to us. You'll open that up. You can open that up on a separate tab, and then you'll see the options there to be able to submit a question. You can sign in anonymously if you don't want to ask your questions and have your name be put out there, but we welcome any questions that you might have at this time. So we'll just sit here for a few seconds and hold off, and hopefully this application is working. We did have some problems with it on the last webinar. If for some reason you aren't able to log in to this URL and post your questions, we do ask that you submit your questions to sfanalystteam@az.gov. All right, we have one question from an anonymous user that asks, who left school finance? I'm not sure who this is particularly directed to, but we've had some major changes in school finance. Many of you know that the director, Sabah Hussein, did leave us back in October. I have actually taken over that position of Director of Operations Support. This is Irene. Jeremy Mayberry was actually given a promotion recently to move from an account analyst to being our senior business analyst for our team. So that's left several openings in our department, and we would welcome folks from the field who would like to participate in ensuring that every single school is receiving the funding that they work so hard for. We'd love to have folks like that join our team. I'm thinking this might be the same user who is saying congratulations, and we appreciate that. The next question is GE18, instructional hours and programs out of date and incorrect. That is actually correct. Yes, it is out of date. We actually just recently had a meeting with the Deputy Associate Superintendent over K-12 standards, and we are going to collaborate to create resources with them to replace the GE18, and hopefully you'll see those coming out in the next few months. Next question, at this time, is the ADE self-service portal available, or should we continue to email support tickets to adesupport@az.gov? The self-service portal does work for some, but not all. We suggest that if it's not working for you, you do send your support tickets to the email address listed there, and they all go into the same queue. So when you submit that email there, it actually goes into a queue in the self-service portal, so they're handled the same way that tickets that are created in the self-service portal are handled. The next question is, calendars are submitted in AZs, but LEA calendar is still on ADE Connect. It's still on Common Logon too. It's still on Common Logon because we need it for 915 purposes, but for the current fiscal year and last fiscal year, calendars are submitted through the AZ's portal. Here's a suggestion. Please make the October 1 enrollment report landscape. I know that there is a team of folks who are working to make improvements to that October 1 enrollment report, and we will make sure to send this recommendation or suggestion over to them. Okay. Here's another suggestion. When referring to a rule, please include what it is on the slide. I think you're talking about integrity rules. I'm guessing. The first portion of this series is more instructional, and we have advertised them as instructional videos. We will get more in depth into reconciliation of data in the upcoming webinars. We'll be able to put more of those on there. We also want to include the top 10 integrity errors as they've occurred for this current year, with some helpful hints and tips to resolve those. In some future state, we would like to create a page where we can have, similar to the AZ's calendar integrity troubleshooting guide, have an integrity troubleshooting guide for all integrity errors that school finance handles. It is a hope and dream of mine that someday we'll be able to do that. Another user asks, when would a calendar be deleted? There are occasions where a calendar is submitted in error, and it needs to be deleted, and an LEA would choose to make those deletions. It's at the LEA's discretion. If you're having issues with a calendar, we'd suggest you contact the SF analyst team so that we can help you to guide you on whether or not those issues can be resolved through making modifications to the calendar or if it needs to be deleted. Make sure, though, that any time that you make a modification to a calendar, that the calendar must be recertified. Calendars have to be submitted, passing integrity, and certified every year in order for student data to land properly in AZs. Once you make a modification to a calendar, not a deletion, but a modification to a calendar, you do need to make sure that that calendar is recertified each time you make a change to the calendar. It looks like we've got some feedback in here for the presentation, for how we've restructured these presentations. So we'll go ahead and take those offline and make sure that we can consider those in how we are restructuring these. Here's a question. Can you update us on SACE merges and splits? I'm sorry to say that the merge tool is still not working properly and not available for us to use to complete merges. We are actively working with the AZ's team and the accountability team and the assessments team to make improvements to that tool and get it into a place where we feel confident that it's working properly and we can begin to complete those merges again. This question, calendars are locked. Why does integrity on calendars run every night? Just run it on calendars that have changed to be more efficient. That's really a question for the AZ's team, and I'll make sure to share that suggestion with them. Can I ask an integrity error with a preschool student? Is it best to email? Hi there. We prefer that if it is regarding a specific student, that it's best to submit an email to the SF analyst team so that we can answer your question specifically and so you can have that answer in writing. Mem 10, will you have more info on what this report consists of and how to reconcile it? Well, the Mem 10 report is a membership report that displays all of your students and any other memberships that have occurred for that student within the same fiscal year. Um, the reconciliation of it is going to be dependent on how you're choosing to use that report. Some of those concurrencies or other memberships are going to be valid memberships where a student has attended another LEA. If you have specific questions on your report and how to reconcile something that you're seeing there, please feel free to submit those questions to us, and we'd be happy to help you out with that. I'm scrolling through the questions here just to make sure I've gotten everything. Bear with me here. All right, looks like we've had a couple more submitted. There's a question regarding the new GE18. There isn't a new GE18 right now. We need to update that document, and we are working with the K-12 standards team in order to get that done and published out soon. There's a question, will you continue to be offering training sessions? If so, we would like to suggest training for STC and AOI requirements. We are hoping to get those updates and more information out regarding at least the AOI requirements in the school finance manual chapters. I know that opens up a can of worms for many of you who've been working with data reconciliation for some time, but that is a goal in the department to get back on track with publishing those chapters, and hopefully all that information would be in there. If you have suggestions for specific training sessions that you'd like to see, we welcome those suggestions to be submitted to the SF analyst team. Tell me specifically what about STE or AOI requirements you're looking for, and we can figure out if we can create a training session, maybe a workshop here on site, or a webinar, or some other format to make sure we get you the information that you need. This question, why does AZEDS collect student and parent addresses and phone numbers? I'm not sure what you mean by that. The data that's submitted to AZEDS is all in the use case document that can be found on the AZEDS website, and it provides you with all of the different tables that are collected. Some information is collected by other departments that doesn't necessarily pertain to school finance. And those two pieces of information are two that do not pertain to school finance, so I wouldn't be able to help you with why that's happening. Summer no-show. Should schools be using dates before school starts? Yes, they should. The summer, when you submit a summer withdrawal, that date should occur before the first day of your instructional calendar or that school's instructional calendar. This question is, can you add the name of the school district instead of just the district number? I'm not sure which report you're talking about. If you'll tell me what report you're talking about, we can look into getting that added in there for you. This question is, where can we verify student transcript information that's been submitted to AZEDS? What if a grade is changing in the summer? School finance doesn't handle anything related to grade changes. So this isn't a question, I'm sorry, that we'd be able to answer for you. You are welcome to send an email to the SF analyst team, and we will figure out who can answer that question for you and make sure that you get an answer. Okay, when will Title I populate in the October 1? I'm sure some of you could maybe hear Jeremy whispering over my shoulder here. This information is in a table and it may not be populated to the October 1 count until the EOS migration is finished. We've been working on a longstanding project of trying to get EOS data migrated into AZEDs. Once that's done, you should be able to see that information there. This question here, some of the reports in AZEDs show data duplicated. Is there a way to only show one unique line of data? I believe this is a known issue that's already been submitted to the AZED's team. You are welcome to submit a ticket to them, providing them with examples of what you're talking about, and they can take a look at it for you, or they can let you know where they're at in the process with resolving that matter. Okay. It would be nice if the MEM10 report shows the district name. Yes. So when we were on that screen, I said that the AZED's team was still in the process of making some modifications to the MEM10 report. That is one of the modifications that's being made. We were fortunate to be able to get some feedback from some folks out in the field, and they gave us some really great information, some great feedback on how they'd like the MEM10 and the ADM 30, some additional things added to those reports. So we are working with the AZED's team to make sure that that feedback gets incorporated into the report. When will the subgroups of foster child, military parent, or teen parent be added? I'm not sure where you mean by added. Jeremy may know, so I'm looking at Jeremy.
These are things going into ASINs, but it's not all by school finance.
Right. So these fields aren't related to, these fields aren't fields that school finance specifically works with. I think that Brito at either the last Ask Us meeting or the one before that talked about being able to see these subgroups on reports, and it would be on the AZED's roadmap to get those reports created. So if you'd like to get an update on where they're at with that, you're welcome to submit a ticket, and they'll route that to the proper folks over in the AZED's team. It looks like those are all the questions that we have for now. I'm going to wait just a couple seconds here and see if there are any other questions that come in. Okay. I'm hopeful that we got to all of your questions. If for some reason we didn't answer one of your questions and you'd like to email that to the SF analyst team, we'd be happy to take a look at it. We thank you so much for participating in this webinar. We appreciate the feedback that you're providing to us within this webinar so that we can help to make things more helpful for you. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we appreciate you sticking with us through some of those technical glitches at the start of this webinar, and we hope you have a fantastic weekend.